Well, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Lisa Tamati here at Pushing the Limits, and welcome back. If this is the first time that you've been with us, I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you're a returning listener, welcome. Today I have Angela Jenkins and David with me from Kaizen Institute in Australia. Hi guys, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, nice and warm.
Nice and warm. Well, we're sitting in the freezing, raining cold in New Zealand here, so, don't make me jealous. So
that's why I moved over.
Yeah. So you're from New Zealand, Dave?
I am. Yeah, born and bred. But moved over here because of the winters that you're experiencing right now, Lisa.
I'm feeling it. I'm actually ready to chuck the towel on myself. I've had enough. If it wasn't for family, I'd be joining you. But yeah. So whereabouts? I want to start. A little bit. You guys have started the Kaizen Institute, and I want to talk to people a bit about what that is, where you guys are based, and what you do. So yeah, fire away. Perhaps Angela, you start.
Okay. I guess Dave and I went into business together in 2010, and basically I come from a really lifestyle, hormonal type background, so that's sort of my strength, and Dave's really heavy in the musculoskeletal side. So we actually met each other, and we just had all these common values. So we actually formed our business. So we're actually based on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. So we have a group of health businesses basically. So we have online businesses. So we do online testing and hormonal testing, food testing. We run mentoring programs for trainers, and we have a heap of trainers that we train in New Zealand actually, and we run online health coaching programs. So we have those health businesses. We sell cod liver oil in Australia and New Zealand, and we also have a team that Dave looks after. He looks after more of the side of the exercise physiology clinic as well, and we're based at Maroochydore.
So you're building an empire basically, pretty much, by the sounds of it.
I don't know about that, but yeah. So it's all, they all link together, and they're all about, what we want to do is really try and make that difference, like create that ripple effect and get people living their best life, really. Yeah,
because there's, traditionally everything's been separated, isn't it, in the health and fitness world. It's been, health in one department and the fitness side, sort of separate in another. But, I'm seeing quite a lot of the sort of thing happening where people are joining together, joining their skill sets together to make these sort of integrated practices where you can actually learn from each other and help each other and provide a one-stop shop for people. Is that the sort of thing that you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think what we found was that the health and fitness had lost its health. And I think that's a general trend that we've seen. And what we were seeing, we weren't happy with. And, we've both gone the whole distance with from the early days of the fitness industry, but certainly the angle that's taking is not what we see, I guess, a healthy person being like anymore. So, we had to, I guess, for our own peace of mind, and certainly for our clients and patients we work with, we needed a different approach.
Yeah. So what sort of approach, like you work in unison together? So, because the way just for the listeners out there, the way I've gotten to know Dave and Angela is through Neil Wagstaff, who's my business partner with Running Hot Coaching, who, love and admire. He's just fantastic. And he's actually gone and trained under these guys because he thinks so much of you. And I know Neil knows everything already. So, when he says he's going to train somewhere, there must be blooming good. So I thought, well, I have to get you guys on. And he's been raving since he got back because, and it's given, us a new sort of a direction to follow within our business. And, I'm really interested in the interplay, with hormonal testing and your food sensitivity testing. Perhaps you talk us a little bit through that so people can know why the heck should they bother? What's the benefit of doing these types of things online that you can do nowadays with you guys?
I guess the biggest thing is that people are complex. Like, people are so complex, and we're all individuals. So we really need a personalised approach, and just generic things aren't working anymore. So, we really have a holistic model that we look at, where we really look in depth at the person and all of the systems involved in that person. And I think what you see is, like, when someone walks into a gym, we often talk about, if someone's doing a squat, you can look at that person and go, oh, that squat's looking a bit dodgy. Their knees are going in, their hips are all over the place, their back's bent, and, that type of thing. But when someone walks into your centre and they're under adrenal exhaustion, or they've got, some severe food sensitivities, you can't actually see that. So all these things are going on in the inside, and it's often those things that are going on the inside which are having the greatest impact on a person's results. So, in terms of the testing that we offer, it's actually looking at, what is actually going on the inside. And when you get an insight of hormonal balance, particularly around, we look at adrenal profiles, and we look at thyroid, we look at lots of different stuff. And when you get an insight of that, you can actually pinpoint a program specific to that person. So you're getting more personalized, because we're seeing so many people who are actually suffering. A lot of the trainers we work with are in adrenal exhaustion. So if they're in adrenal exhaustion, then their clients are going to be, So it's kind of that thing where, we need to know what's going on and actually change that approach, because otherwise we can be harming our clients if we keep smashing them and not know what's going on. Yeah.
I absolutely love that approach, because, when you say the trainers are coming in with adrenal exhaustion, I have to put my hand up. I've got it. I definitely know it, and Neil has too. And, what is adrenal exhaustion? You go to the doctor, and I remember saying to a doctor last week with some issues that I went for, and she said, that's a load of rubbish, adrenal exhaustion. It's just a fancy word that's been bandied around nowadays. And Dave's laughing there. Why are you laughing, Dave? Why, what do you see?
We've had quite a few doctors as patients as well.
Really?
So,
well, that's good.
Look, I've worked in musculoskeletal health for 25 years, and certainly, used to frustrate me, because I get to a certain point and I couldn't go any further. And the reason I couldn't go any further is because when someone is hormonally disrupted, when their body is breaking down, not healing, anything you do in terms of training, in terms of healing, it's just not going to work. So, there's some really sound physiology and science behind this, and medicine's normally behind the what practitioners are doing, and certainly the changes that we make, we see these every day with what we do.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too. The doctors are often very much behind. In fact, the last couple of episodes have been around this fact that you've got to take responsibility for your own health. And I actually had a hormone scholar on last week from America, one of the world's leading hormone scholars, who's written 21 books on hormones. You probably know Angela, Dr. Lindsay Berkson, or you will after this anyway. And she's the scientists, inventors, doctors. And they're saying this is a real problem, and this is not just, like my GP said last week, a load of rubbish. And I think it's really important for people, we as coaches are often seeing people coming to us, especially in the ultramarathon world where I come from, who are totally smashed and still trying to smash out more. And it's a really hard sell to get them to pull back and do some yoga and do some breathing exercises and do some other tests. It's a bit of a hard sell, but you're getting these tests done and you're showing them the hard proof that, guys, this is what's happening in your body.
Yeah, and I think that's with a lot of people, you can't run away from the numbers. When it's in front of you, you're actually seeing it there. And I think, it's about education. When people understand that imbalance can be having a knockover effect on all of the systems and the symptoms that they're experiencing, then they start to wake up a bit. We've got people who are starting menopause a lot earlier because of the stress. We've got men with, the World Health Organization changed the sperm count because men's testosterone levels are lower in sperm count. So we're, all of these things are happening, and we've got all this diabetes. We've got all of these issues going on. So I think when people understand that if they can restore some of that balance, it's actually going to have that effect. I think they get the wake-up call. They're not actually doing yoga. They're not actually doing nothing. They're actually rebalancing their hormonal system, and they're increasing their DHEA. They're doing all these things. So it's trying to get into that psyche, I suppose, about that you are doing something.
Yeah, and it's a really hard sell. I was, it took me a long time to get my head around the whole thing, because I come from a background of smash it, and push your head through the wall, and that's all very well, and I'm paying a high price personally for doing all that, and trying to prevent that in our athletes going forward, so that we have healthy, strong athletes who can still do these amazing, incredible feats of endurance, but who are doing it in a calculated fashion, that are still going to be alive at 90, and they're still probably hopefully going to be running, and exercising into their late old age. So it's a matter of keeping all those age-related diseases at bay for as long as possible. So if we look at the hormonal testing that you do and the adrenal testing, what actually, what sort of figures are coming back? What are they showing? What are the sort of, you spoke about DHEA. What is that? How, talk us through a little bit the science, without getting too sciencey.
I guess what we measure different to a doctor is we measure your cortisol profile throughout the day. So typically when you go to a doctor, you just get a one-off blood measure. So we actually do saliva measures throughout the day, and you're actually looking at, because cortisol should be high in the morning and gently come down throughout the day. So we're actually getting specific measures throughout the day, so you actually know what is going on. So cortisol is your stress hormone, and you need a certain amount of cortisol in your body because we need a bit of stress in our body. A bit of stress is actually good for us. Cortisol is a natural anti-inflammatory. It gives us focus. It gives us lots of really good things. But what happens over time is that if we're constantly putting ourselves under all of this stress, our body gets so exhausted and we're like, oh my God, you're wanting me to keep producing all this cortisol. I'm getting a bit tired here. I can't produce it anymore. And so what tends to happen is people get these lower cortisol levels where they can't respond to the stress that's around them. So, that's when it becomes really dangerous, is that you could be in a really stressful situation, but your stress hormone isn't working. And when that doesn't work, then your DHEA gets really lowered as well, which is your recovery hormone. And then it's just a cascade effect of so many symptoms, and that's what we're seeing. But we're seeing a lot of people with these low levels. People think, only high cortisol is bad. Well, it's actually the low cortisol that's really scary, is because that's when your body can't produce it. At least when it's high, even though you don't want to be high, at least you can respond.
You're still producing. Yeah.
You're still producing, yeah. So that's when it gets a bit gets a bit frightening, and we're seeing a lot of those lower numbers. Don't get me wrong, we still see the high numbers as well. Yeah. But at least when we catch the high ones, we know that we can.
You've caught them early.
About that, yeah. It's sometimes a quicker win than the lower ends.
So what can you do about it? What sort of things what measures can you take as someone who's listening to this and going, yeah, that's me. I'm stressed the hell out. Life's crazy. I'm juggling too many balls, and there's no way I can take my foot off the accelerator, really. Because we're all juggling. Families, jobs, businesses, trying to stay afloat, the whole shebang, whatever it is that's entailed in that. And you can't just drop the ball and go, well, I'm going to have a stress-free life and go and live on a beach. That'd be marvellous.
You can, actually.
Well, if you go to the Sunshine Coast, yeah.
I think, do you want to keep
actually, I might just chime in there. Look, when we first started doing this stuff, and, Angela was bringing this approach in, we were identifying that this was an issue. And we were sending people off to other practitioners to deal with the stuff. And they were coming back with $500 a month supplement programs. And this sort of problem is not a lack of supplementation problem. It is a lifestyle issue. So, trying to fix it, if we want to get to the source of it, that's where we really need to start. And we kind of made a decision right at the start that we would not become a supplement company. Wow. And we really want to make a change where it counted the most.
And so what are your strategies? What are some of the strategies that people can put in place? Because, once again, I'm guilty of, taking 1,000 supplements trying to get on top of problems. What else can we do?
Supplements have a place to a degree, but it's only a Band-Aid approach if you don't get to the cause. I think what a lot of people don't realise is that stress comes from different sources. So, not sleeping or having 2 coffees a day or overtraining or stress with the kids or the busyness that you have, that they're all stresses, and the body can't differentiate where the stress is coming from. So what we do is we do a full assessment and look at where people's stresses are coming from, and we look to see what opportunity can we find. We're all about finding opportunities where we can get the body to heal. So it might just be one thing that you do. Okay, have you got in your schedule, let's look for a 5-minute break. Can you get outside for 5 minutes? Because if you actually just stop for 90 seconds, you can switch from your sympathetic to your parasympathetic state and get out of that stress state. So little breaks like that, people don't realize those 90-second, 2-minute breaks throughout a day can actually make a big difference. Or just if you're having 2 coffees a day, cutting to 1, or if you're struggling with sleep, having a sleep strategy. So we look at the lifestyle in the picture, and we're realistic too. We know people lead these lives, but we're also have seen the smallest things done regularly make a difference, and that's what Kaizen actually means. It's continual improvement, the small things over time. So, those little things do make a change. So we really analyse a person's lifestyle, and when you get the data of the cortisol throughout the day, you can make specific recommendations based on exactly what's going on throughout the day.
Yeah, so you can actually see at what times they're struggling and when they need to make these changes with. And so it's an incremental, so it's all about tiny little rituals that you can start inputting into your day to improve your overall lifestyle is what I'm hearing, sort of thing. That's the message. And
that's the definition of Kaizen right there.
Right, yeah, and I love that. I'm absolutely all over rituals, just tiny little habits that you can adapt day by day, make little changes, because, it's overwhelming for someone if you come in and you try and rip their life apart and you tell them to stop eating sugar completely and they stop eating this and doing that and making this and a lot of people just go, oh, can't do it, it's all in the too hard basket. But when you break it down into tiny little, like this month we're going to concentrate on this one or two things, then you can cope with that. You can cope with the change, because the change in itself can be a stressor, can't it?
Oh, I'm a big believer that I see a lot of people too. Sometimes people who try to do too much too soon, like your body has a natural state of balance, and if you try to change that too quickly, your natural homeostasis, that's a massive stress on your system. So, that can actually cause more stress if you try to do too much at once. So, those small things do make a difference. And, when someone starts to get that small win and they, they're sleeping a bit better or they're just that bit clearer, then they make better choices and they have better clarity in their decisions and they start to get that control back.
Yeah, because I think that's what stress does to it. Is it takes away our willpower and our determination and our strength. And our ability to be able to make the right decisions when we need it, isn't it? This is the thing, the tireder you get, the worse it is, the more you're liable to grab to the chocolate bars and the, all the other things that you shouldn't be doing, or the glass of wine at night or the coffee, because you're going to make these bad decisions because you're stressed and you want an out, and we need to compensate, we're always seeing these compensating behaviours, really. Would you say
one of
that's
the
true?
analogies that we often use is, when you're running away from a tiger, when you're sprinting away and there's a person next to you, you don't sit there and say, "Hi, how's your day going?" You don't stop and look at the beautiful flowers as you're running by them. That's not what happens when you're getting chased by a tiger.
No,
so
absolutely.
We need to get back to that state if we're going to really make the most of our lives. And that's the approach that we advocate.
Yeah. So that's your hormonal, your cortisol. So do you, are you also testing your hormones, your other hormones, or just your DHEA and your cortisol, or, are you looking at your testosterone levels amongst you guys and your what do you call it, progesterone and all that sort of jazz?
Yeah, we typically do.
The hubby in the background.
Hello. Typically, we focus on that one as a start in terms of your hormonal hierarchy, because we know that we can get the biggest wins with that. But yeah, we do look at other panels. So we do full thyroid panels because that's an important hormone for balance. We look at sex hormones. We do a lot of blood chemistry as well. So the difference is when you get your bloods from a doctor and they go, "Yep, everything's fine." Yeah. They're based on medical ranges, right? So. Yeah. There's a big difference between medical and functional. So we actually look at bloods from a functional point of view and give insight based on that. So, we're actually looking for all of these opportunities where we can get some wins to restore that balance. So, we do all of that type of testing, but we typically start with the adrenal profiles, because we know that we can get, because that has a knockover effect on so many. So we know that that cleans up a lot of the stuff, and then we go depending on, what's going on.
What sort of health orders. Yeah, because there's things like, thyroid, if you're only getting a T3, or is it a T3 and a T4 or TSH, and you're not getting your reverse T3 and your other, which cost, you're not actually going to get the whole picture. And then, they are comparing it to sick people. And this is I've just had some blood tests done, actually, this week, and the doctor's going, "Oh, you're fine." And I'm going, "Well, am I actually? Well, this is not so good, or that's not so good, And so you need to send it to people like yourself and go, "Hey, no, actually, this is a sign."
And I'll have a look at your bloods for you.
Oh, brilliant. I was angling for that.
We do health testing for health. Remember, the medical model is all about disease, and normal is Homer Simpson. So, is that really who we want to base our model of health on?
I love it. Yeah, no, not really. You want to be above the normal, don't you? You don't want to be compared to the 85-year-old diabetic who's living next door.
Yeah. So that's what Andrew's saying about that. Functional health ranges. We look at those ranges quite a lot differently to how a doctor would look at them. We look at them for optimal health, not for lack of disease. There's a very different lens to look through those numbers.
Fantastic. So, and you also do for food sensitivity testing. I've just done that with you guys. I'm waiting for the results. It hasn't probably got to Australia yet, but how does that work? Talk us through that process.
Talk, or you don't?
There you go.
Dave's not getting the word in.
Ask a musculoskeletal question next. So with the food sensitivity testing, I guess, there's food allergies. People have food allergies, and you can identify a food allergy straight away because you swell up and you react to it straight away. But what also happens is there's these delayed reactions that happen in your body. So you can eat a food and have a delayed reaction that causes inflammation and stress, and it happens between 3 hours and 3 days after you've eaten a food. So you can go through and do all these elimination type diets and try all these things, but unless you actually test to find out which specific foods are causing you that reaction, then you can't identify what's going on. And it's one of the most hidden stresses on your system, because, you could be eating something 3 or 4 times a day, and it's all these little stress and inflammatory reactions are happening. Now, we lead inflamed enough lifestyles as it is, and the thing with the food sensitivity is it can be a healthy food. When I first got tested, the big one that come up off the scale for me high was lettuce.
Wow.
Now, would you ever put lettuce in an elimination diet? I never. I mean, I'd been gluten-free, dairy-free, all of these things. But, when I cut out lettuce, I was like, oh, my God, 2-3 weeks after cutting it out, all of a sudden, because I had a couple of knee reconstructions and, my knees would get a bit tight, that type of stuff. I cut that out and my systemic inflammation had been reduced, that all of a sudden I could just move so much freer because of that. And we see that a lot with clients, like the guys that Dave works with from a musculoskeletal point of view. If they've got a lot of inflammation, particularly around their middle and their gut, they can't switch on their abdominals, they can't switch on their back. So they're getting so much back pain and they can't get out of it because of that.
Yeah, tell us about that, Dave. So, we typically think as the muscular and skeletal system as being independent of the stress side of our bodies, or all these, But what I'm seeing too is that inflammation. If you've got people say to me, I've got arthritis in the shoulder, or I've got arthritis in the knee, and often it's an inflammation reaction. And yes, that part of the body might be weaker, but it's actually not the muscle or the bone or the joint that's at issue. It's an inflammation issue.
Yeah, look, just think if all those systems work together, they have to. I mean, if you have a great musculoskeletal system and you don't have a cardiorespiratory system, you're dead. So, I mean, same with the hormonal system and your digestive system, they all link together to create, great movement and healthy people. So if any of those systems break down, you'll know about it. And, certainly there's the old classic where, people understand if you've got pain or weakness in the left arm, you might have a heart issue. Well, if you've got inflamed intestines, like Andrew was saying, or if you've got ovary issues, certainly that can shut down an abdominal wall and back muscles and cause all sorts of problems.
Wow.
And, if you're not looking at that stuff, you'll certainly drop the ball if you're looking at making people move and train and exercise better.
Wow. So, and what I've learned this week too, after listening to a hormone scholar, was that you can have your joints and your muscles can be too elastic and too relaxed, especially women, if there are things are out of balance, and that can cause issues if you're lifting weights with that sort of an issue going on.
Yeah, I mean, often people go on about people being tight and restricted and that being an issue, but if you're hypermobile, you've just got a different set of problems coming your way. And I actually find we get quite a few people with hypermobility. I'd rather work with people who are tight. They're easy to work with. So you just get a different set of problems. That's all you get.
You've got problems both sides of the fence.
Yep, absolutely.
So Dave,
sorry.
Go, Angela.
I was just saying that's why it's so important to look at the individual and the person as a whole. Is that we're so complex. There's so much going on. We really need to start moving towards personalised health and looking at the person as an individual.
Yeah, and so when someone walks into your centre, they get the whole holistic look at them. They don't just get a personal trainer and, okay, you want to do a bodybuilding competition, so we'll go off in this direction.
Yeah, it wouldn't be our typical client here. We have a range of people from professional athletes, to people who come in Zimmer frames, and everything in between. So, humans are humans when it comes down to it. But Andrew's saying there, it's all about that individual approach. And certainly we give people the opportunity to look at all those different systems. Not everyone wants to, and certainly, we do have an open view on looking for issues that aren't just about muscles and joints.
Yeah. So how do you think, like moving forward into the future, if we look into the future of health and fitness, Do you see centres like yours where you can come in and get, well, at least the services are being offered? Do you think that we'll be joining with traditional doctors in future and maybe, massage therapists, acupuncture specialists, a real gambit, so that the person comes in the door to an integrated health place and gets put into what they need? Do you see that ever happening? Or are we too separated and too, fundamentally different?
Look, I think it is happening in some places. I think it definitely will happen. Like you see, there has been a shift. There's been doctors on some of my functional health courses and who are involved in my programs now because they're actually making that shift. But I think what's really challenging is that when they're actually doing their training, doctors are trained to treat sickness and they're trained to just fix a condition that's going on. And that's so important. Don't get me wrong. That is so hugely important. But it's just how they're trained. And with big pharmaceutical companies backing all of this stuff, you're up against a big fight. To use to take a natural food can't be patented and can't make billions of dollars, whereas a drug can. So I think we are up against something, but I think the more the consumer demands these things and takes care of their health, then the more these things will be needed and they'll go down that path. But I think it will be challenging, but it's great to see that there is a shift happening, I believe.
And there is, I think in shows like this podcast are really educating people about what is out there, how they can think differently, how they can do their own research. They can find people like yourselves who can be remote. You're in Australia, I'm in New Zealand, I'm going to send tests over to you. You don't actually have to be in the place anymore to get the experts that you really need because of this wonderful internet and the world that we live in.
Yes.
And I think that is going to change the way traditional medicine is practiced. And I mean, I know that they're being challenged left, right and centre with, customers like me coming in and they've got 10 printouts from Google. What I've learnt this week, and does that apply to me? And it must drive them insane. But on the other hand, they has to up the ante, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Can't get away with everything. Dave, let's look into your background a little bit. Where have you come from in your background, like your educational background and what you're specialised in?
Look, I spent far too long at university. I was down at Otago University.
Good place, Otago.
Yeah, it was great. And, I was a student there. Then I did some postgrad work there and I taught down there for a number of years. And I lectured there and in Wellington for quite a while. And going to high performance sport was really my thing. So the high performance sport New Zealand, which was originally Academy of Sport, I pretty much spearheaded the Central North Island for that.
Wow.
I was working with everyone from equestrian athletes through to Olympic lifters. So that was kind of really my part there. Then I had kids and life had to change. And
life came at you.
So certainly, I've always enjoyed working with either returning athletes to sport or with people who have, I guess, complex conditions which require a large toolbox. So that's really been my passion, and that's what I do today still, as well as teach our approach to other health professionals as well.
Yeah, so you guys are actually, on that note, you guys are actually teaching other professionals already. So what are some of the courses that you can do with you guys?
So we run mentorships. So the easiest place is, if you check out kaizenih.com, it talks about our mentorships there, where we train, we have massage therapists, physios, chiropractors, personal trainers who come on to learn about our approach. And we basically teach them how we do what we do. And they get exposed and certainly go through all the testing process we do, because if you can't experience it, dishing it out is a bit rough. So they actually, one of our key things is to build health, to build the practitioner's health as well, so they can be the shining light for their patients and clients as well. So we also talk at a number of conferences. We're in Thailand is it next month?
4 weeks.
4 weeks, okay. Hell, all right. And then I'm heading over to New Zealand in November. There's FedEx, which runs in Auckland. I'll be talking at that one. And we talk at a number of other conferences as well. on what we do.
And bringing people into the fold and teaching them these skills so that they can then go out. So any personal trainers that are listening to this podcast or other health professionals, they can come in and they can take that skill set back to their people and to their community and instigate that testing process and all of that sort of stuff that we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
No, it sounds absolutely brilliant. So, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of other things. One is your cod liver oil. What's that about and why is that good for us?
Okay. So cod liver oil was something that probably our grandparents had, and certainly that kind of, I guess till the 1950s was a pretty big supplement. And cod liver oil is very high. It's nature's highest source of natural vitamin D. So if you wanted to kind of pick a vitamin which people are deficient on, vitamin D would be an easy pick. And vitamin D is not so much a vitamin, it acts like a hormone. So it affects every system that we have. So everything from your digestion, through the nervous system, through the cardiorespiratory, you name it, it has an effect on it. So this lack of vitamin D we have because we're on a low-fat diet and it's dangerous to go out in the sun. So we've been told.
Yeah.
So if you're not eating your vitamin D or getting sunlight exposure, you're not getting your vitamin D. So you can buy your vitamin, you can get your vitamin D capsules if you like, or your drops. But the issue is that in nature, vitamin D is always found with vitamin A. The two go hand in hand; they work synergistically. So I think we're going to have a lot of problems in the future with all this vitamin D supplementation because that's not the way that nature designed us to have it.
Wow.
So,
okay.
The cod liver oil is a great way of getting your natural vitamin D.
Oh, crikey, because I've been prescribed really vitamin D, for the hormonal situation that I'm in at the moment. So I need to be taking that in a more natural, combined with the vitamin A, was it you said?
Yeah, well,
it's cod liver oil.
And it's a less pharmaceutical option, and if that suits your direction, by all means. I'm not saying that vitamin D supplementation you should stop right away and change to something else. Don't take both together because if you do, you're going to have a mighty dose of vitamin D on you.
Okay.
But that fermented cod liver oil is a pretty potent source of vitamin D.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's just a really interesting aside because vitamin D is very important. I know for women's hormonal health. It's something that's that I've recently understood as well, but I didn't know about cod liver oil. So there you go, people. That's a tip for the moment. Now let's talk a little bit about epigenetics. What is epigenetics and where is it going? And Neil told me I had to ask that question.
Look, I think it's a very exciting area, and it's all around the area of personalised health. Like the thing is now there's so much technology out there that's being now made available to us, which is really exciting. So what epigenetics is we're all given our certain genes. So we're given our certain genes that we've inherited from our parents. So we've got those, and there's nothing we can do with the actual genes that we've got. But on each gene, there's actually a switching mechanism. So there's this switching mechanism that you can actually, depending on what you do, how you live your life, how you think, you can actually switch on good genes and switch off bad genes based on the choices that you make. So epigenetics is a combination of our environment and our lifestyle choices because, look, you mightn't have the best of genes, but if you do certain things, that isn't going to have an impact. It's about 95% of the choices that we make. And, more research is coming out now where they're actually able to profile individuals to actually look at your profile, look at your epigenetic profile and do specific things around nutrition, around exercise, around mindset, around social, around all of these holistic things that are specifically going to work better for your gene set and the environment that you're living in. And it's an exciting area. It's very fast, it's rapidly changing and fast paced, but it's something that we've brought on this year, and it just gives you that new set of lens to look through when you're looking at a client and looking what they need. And it's pretty blowing my mind a bit actually lately, but it's really powerful and it's exciting stuff.
So this is, once again, it's all going to that personalised health. I just listened to a podcast this week, funnily enough, from the founder of My DNA, which is another, is a company that's testing for, I think they're using it for medications and for diet at the moment, and they're going to go in 100 other directions. And I think this area of science is just exploding, and they're going to be able to tailor apparently in years to come, they're going to be able to tailor everything to that person's actual DNA. So you'll be able to go to the doctor with this report saying, this is my DNA, this is what's been recommended for the problem that I've got. Say you've got depression or something, this drug will work better than that drug, or this food group will work better than that food group. So this is the stuff that you're starting to get into, isn't it? So turning off the wrong genes and turning on the right ones.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing to note, is that just because you have certain genes, like you might be more prone to specific things. Like I've got certain genes that are prone to liver detoxification or prone to congenital hypothyroidism and all of these things, but because of my environment and my lifestyle choices, when I do my blood chemistry, they're not expressing in me. So the key is to understand what your profile is, but then make the right choices from an environment and lifestyle perspective, so you're not switching on those bad ones and you're dimming them down. And that's where epigenetics incorporates that component, not just your static gene set. So it is, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's really interesting. And when you get to someone's profile, for some people it might be movement is the number one priority, but for others it might be their social. Like for me, social will actually come up really high as a priority for me for my health outcomes, because the oxytocin from social connections is a real driver in my hormonal profile. And all of that stuff is like, oh my God. So I tell people now, I just go out and I pop out and I chat to people, and that's my training. But it's but it is actually an important part of a person's profile, whereas for someone else, they need time on their own. They need to be away and that type of thing. Yeah,
so it's tailoring, once again, your lifestyle. There's a book called Sexy Brain by that doctor that I mentioned earlier, and there it's all about the importance of intimacy for human connection, for the release of the right hormones. On a chemical level, on a hormonal level, what actually giving your husband a hug does for you on a hormonal level. Or making love, what that does for you, or hanging out with your girlfriends, and the different hormones that are released when you do this. And we just think is this, I can't take time out today to go and see a mate for coffee or whatever, because I'm too busy. But really, if you look at it in the whole stress relief, all that sort of side of it, is really important to do that. And that human connection, I mean, this is, again, it's come from evolution. This has come from how we've evolved, and our world today is so artificial, and we've, our genes and our world, if you like, we've been plonked in this modern society that doesn't really fit our genes anymore, does it?
No, it's so true, so true. So it's exciting what's ahead, really, with personalised health, and then what, as you said before, we can reach everyone. So we can reach, like we coach people in New Zealand, in London, and all around Australia. It's you can get this. You're not isolated. It is available to people with all the technology now.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna join up to the program. I've been talking to Neil. I've got to get over there. So running hot coaching is going to have to pay my way over or somehow. come and do that with you. Hey, look, guys. Is there any sort of quick, gems of wisdom that you can, impart to people? Some last thoughts around what people can do as far as their health, if they're feeling perhaps stressed out, if they're feeling like maybe their adrenals are toast, or if they're not getting the performance when they're putting in the effort at the gym, Dave, and they're not seeing the results. You've worked with high-end, athletes. What they need and what pressures they're under. What sort of advice can you give to them?
Look, I'd say, stay curious about and try and take responsibility for your own health would be one of the things that I'd definitely say. And, certainly, just take responsibility for it and do your homework. Don't expect someone to be able to solve your problems and tell you 5 more of this and 6 more of this. It's deeper than that. So, be curious, go and do your own research, take responsibility for your own health.
Yeah, and if you're not seeing the results, dig a little deeper into the research.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about you, Angela? What would be something that you'd want to, share to?
Mine's probably a little bit emotional. It's quite personal, but my son passed away 2 years ago, and he was 104 days old. And for me, my whole reason behind doing all of this stuff is that, for some people, 104 days is a lifetime. So, life truly is a gift. And I'm all about people living their most fulfilling life and doing the best that they can to make the most of it in that time. And, like, why are we worrying over all these little things? There's so much, meaningless stress in our life, and I just really want people to sort of wake up and live their most fulfilling life, because we've been given this gift, and I really want to help inspire people to live that great life, really. So that's, I guess, the reason behind what gets me up and gets me up moving with what I do. And I think, if I can help someone do that today, I'd really love that.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that feeling of gratitude, like you're obviously, have that feeling of gratitude for your child's life, that you did have that time together, and resilience and coming back from something like that. And it's understanding. I've been a bit on a journey, and my listeners know it well because I talk all the time about it with my mum, who's had an aneurysm last year, and it's shaken my world, and it's changed the way I view things, and I'm now much more aware of not taking things for granted. When you can't even roll over in bed, or lift your toe, or do all those things, but also about not giving up, because now 18 months later, Mum's doing everything again. And that journey's taught me gratitude. It's gratitude for every single day that I get to spend with her, and that this life isn't just about business and growing huge bank accounts. There's more to it than that. And it's having I think like you, I can see, Angela, you want to have an impact in the world. You want to make a difference. You guys are doing this because, you got to make a living and you got to make a livelihood. But at the end of the day, you want to make a change in the world too. Would that be right?
I often try not to say I do it for free, because that's bad for business. But
definitely.
If the currency ended up if we had no currency tomorrow, I'd probably still be doing close to what I'm doing now. Yeah.
Because this is your passion, this is your life, Absolutely. And this is your skill set.
Love.
It's what you love, and you're changing and shaping lives, So, hey, thank you guys very much for being on the show. That was Dave and Angela from the Kaizen Institute. Where can people get hold of you, and how do they, get this testing done, and where do they find you guys?
So website's easiest way is kaizenih.com. So Kaizen Institute Health, ih.com. That's probably the best place to look us up.
Yep.
Andrew, have you got any other bits you want to send people to?
Yeah, that's probably the everything's on there. Really, they contact us there, and we can help them with what they need, and tailor something for them if that's what they're after. Yeah.
Fantastic. Hey guys, thank you so much for taking time out today of your busy schedules, and I wish you well, and I hope I get to come over to the Sunshine Coast and do your courses with you.
Cool.
Great
to chat, Lisa. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.